You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Radio Show, only on Financial News and Talk. Now live in studio, your host, local and national real estate expert and consumer advocate, Ron Siegel.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family, your business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. But before we get into our intriguing content today, please join me in welcoming our featured guests.
So let's take a chance, you and your dance. Well, I'm cuckoo and you're cuckoo. Sing la 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 la. All the folks have all gone wild. Oh, what a
I think they're definitely cuckoo fits the bill. Blake Vartanian and Jim Norton are in the house. Welcome, and I use the term lightly, gentlemen.
Thank you, Ron.
Hey, let me remind you, if you ever have any more finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Well, I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan or a plan to save you money. I personally work with you, even if you don't have any needs today. Save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, of course, we are celebrating today. We celebrate every day on Ron Siegel Radio. National Bittersweet Chocolate with Almonds. I don't know about you, but I'm not really that much into dark chocolate or bittersweet chocolate, unless, of course, we've got it with a nice glass of red wine. I'm just throwing that out there. Just probably not one of my favorites. But anytime you want to throw milk chocolate, let's take a look at the markets. Dow Jones Industrial Average now up 132 points. S&P 500 is down 1. The NASDAQ is down 37. Oil is up 40 cents a barrel. Thank you, President Biden. And let's see. What should we look at gas? We haven't looked at that in a while, at least in 3 or 4 days. $3.80 a gallon is the national average. California, $5.45, $5.46. Thank you, Katie Porter. Nevada, $4.95 a gallon. Josh, you're doing okay over there. Jody's at $4.25, and of course, well, should we talk about Brittany at $3.50 a gallon? Okay, $3.50 is where Brittany's paying, and once again, Lori's leading the way at $3.26 a gallon. Our tremendous underwriter, Lori, out there in Louisiana. Let's take a look and see what else is going on in the world. Yeah, elections are tomorrow. Have you voted yet? I've already cast my vote. I put it in the box last week. Bet you could guess who I'm voting for. But, you know, something I know in California, you know, I go out and vote, even though my son actually said this to me the other day. He said, Dad, why do we spend so much time voting when we know that our candidates aren't going to win? And I said, because people died so you can vote. Go get educated and go vote. Now, whether you vote the same as me or the wrong way, or your way, it doesn't matter, right? The bottom line is go get educated and do your duty and vote. Now, if you are happy, I agree with you, Jody, Carrie Lake in Arizona. If you are happy with what you're seeing now, gas prices and inflation, well, wait till next week when you go try and buy a turkey, if you can find one. If you're happy with those things, crime, the border, the fentanyl, if you're happy with all that stuff, keep voting the way you've been voting. Keep voting for the people that are there. If the people that are in office are not voting the same way as your values, get rid of them, right? There's nothing that says you have to stick with the same person. I just saw a quote the other day, and I'm not sure whether it's accurate or not. 59% of the teachers don't agree with the teachers' union in the way they vote. Think about that concept. Now, I don't often talk about this, and I wanted to bring this up this morning because social media can do some good things. I'm waiting to find out what. but it can do some good things. And it also brings in a lot of bad things. And I saw this last few days, there's been some folks posting things about mortgages. And unfortunately, people believe what they read. Well, you know me, I am your consumer advocate. So I saw this meme that's been floating around. And we're going to, if you're watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk AM 1490 video feed, we're going to show you the meme as I read it to you for the words I view, those of you that remember Chick Earn, and not that I'm comparing myself to him. Here's the meme. It says, paying 7% at 30,000 under list is better than 100,000 over at 2.99. Let that sink in. Okay, I'm going to let it sink in. Now, here's the issue. If you're looking at a median priced home in the United States, single family residence, we reported this last week. I haven't got this week's numbers. Median single family home in the U.S. is $425,000. Now, do you believe anybody right now is going to pay 25%, roughly, just don't quote me on the exact math, 25% over the list price on a median family home in today's environment? Not unless the property was priced stupid low, right? But for the most part, no, they're not going to do that. Now, it is possible that they might offer or get accepted an 8% price reduction. That's possible. So that would be that 30,000 that they're discussing. Now, if you want to look right here where I am broadcasting right now in the formerly Golden State, I am sitting here in Orange County, California. The numbers might become a little bit more realistic if it makes sense. So let's take a look at it, because I'm looking at Orange County, California. Last time I looked at the median home price. Now, I am going to tell you that I'm using apples and oranges just a little bit, because the report that I gave you for the median home price was single family. This report basically is all homes in Orange County, California, median home price, $1,067,000 is the median home price. That's according to Black Knight. The first stat I gave you was according to Altos Research, if you want to go and you don't believe me. So let's go and let's compare the numbers again. So if you got $1 million, now I'm going to go and use $1 million home, because I can't do the math on $1,067,000 without pulling out the old Texas Instruments calculator, and I don't want to do that. So is it likely that somebody's going to pay 10% over on that? Maybe. Would it be good if they did? Maybe. Is it possible that they would pay 3% under? Well, that's possible too. That's the $30,000, or 10% over is the $100,000. So I look at it and I say, okay, well, maybe the numbers make sense. You don't know until you go and you call our team and you say, hey, team, what does a total cost analysis look like if I were to deal with those numbers? Well, because I am your consumer advocate and I am a numbers nerd, well, let's look at the net worth in 13 years. Why did I use 13 years? It is not random. It's because that's how long we're holding our homes in the U.S. right now, 13 years. Median home, so if we take that property, less $30,000, in 13 years, our net worth is $1,104,170. Okay, what if we take and pay $100,000 over and get that 2.99% interest, if it was available? I'm not making any offers here. So we did 7% on that first offer. Now we're looking at 2.99, which is what the meme shows. Would it surprise you to know that your net worth in the same 13 years, same property, same 4% annual appreciation, because that is a number that's 4.5%, I think I used. Basically, because in Orange County, California, we appreciated it at 5% over the last 63 years, 5.37. You say, well, Ron, that's a long time. I'm not going to be there that long. 10 years, how about 6.52? I don't like 5 years because that's got some skewed numbers in there. That's 7.33. 1 year forecast is 4.16. So I used 4.5. It's on the low end of all of these different numbers. What does that mean? Okay, so now that net worth of the family is now $1,357,395. Sounds better to me, doesn't it to you? Now, let's take it one step further. What if we take the savings every single month and apply it to the principal of the loan? Now what happens? Basically what we're going to do is the savings from the 2.99 at 100,000 over versus the full price at the 7% with a $30,000 discount. Would it surprise you to know that your net worth now is $1,634,843 and you've paid off your loan in 18 and a half years, that 30-year loan? So when you see a meme like this, please, and I've seen a lot of lenders just repost it because it's easy and they don't do the homework. Well, you listen to Ron Siegel Radio. I did the homework. I want you to know about it. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. When we come back, we are going to chat with Blake Vartanian and Jim Norton. How do you maximize the price you get from your property? Jim and I did some scenarios on this last week for some private clients. We're not going to give any names, but we're going to talk about some of the ways this works, key factors affecting home affordability today. We'll talk about it. And every once in a while, I get the full show in, but how raising your FICO score may save you thousands of dollars. All that and more. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
79% of all credit reports have errors that should be corrected through factual disputing. You could be saving thousands every year if your report was accurate. CreditSanitizer.com provides a free credit report audit when you furnish a specific $1 credit report. You can use this information to request corrections to your report and potentially save thousands of dollars. Get your free credit audit at CreditSanitizer.com. That's CreditSanitizer.com for a free credit report audit. CreditSanitizer.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Get it out of your head.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Let's see what the markets are doing. The S&P 500 is now up 7 points. Despite all that Apple had to say, it's doing a little bit better. The 10-year Treasury up 5 basis points, 4.21. I told you that's going to go to about 4.33. Mortgage-backed securities are down 16 basis points. And every day at this time, I tell you that OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. The 30-year conforming loans last Friday locked at 7.144. Jumbos at 7.198, FHA at 6.918, USDA for those in the rural areas 7.006. It's not 007. And the best loan on the market for those that earned it, the 30-year VA loan, locked at 6.815. Why is all of that happening? Well, we're still on inflation watch. We've been talking about that for quite a while. Unfortunately, the president doesn't have a clue about it, and the chairman of the Federal Reserve, he's just gone about this stuff all backwards because inflation is just transitory. It's going to go back down. We just don't know when. And will we have any jobs by that point? That's going to be the big question. Obviously, the big issue right now, midterm elections. Gridlock is usually good. So if the out party, the party that's not the same as the president, controls one or both houses of Congress, that's usually good because it's a shame to say it. But when Congress does nothing, it's generally a positive for the markets. It's hard to believe that we're going to say that, but that is the case. Consumer Price Index report for October is going to be released on Thursday. So we're going to look at that one. It's estimated to show headline inflation decrease from 8.2 to 8%, and for core inflation to fall from 6.6 to 6.5. And just as we've been believing that inflation would start to subside towards the end of this year, the managing director from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, I'm sure I said that wrong, said that global inflation appears to be peaking. Well, thank goodness she came out and said that. Remember, shelter costs make up 39% of core inflation. They've been lagging, but real shelter costs have been moderating in the current market. Zumper reported that rents came down 0.7% last month, and the gains are moderating on a year-over-year basis after 12 straight months of double-digit year-over-year jumps. The national median is up slightly more reasonable, 9.2%. Reasonable, 9.2% year-over-year. And I'll just throw this out there that my son just moved out of an apartment in Orange County. He was paying $2,700 a month, or $2,800 a month. And when he moved out, they put that same exact apartment on the market for $3,500. I don't know if that's 9.2%, but it seems to me like it's a little bit higher than that. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Ooh, you know something, Josh? Now I get to go on vacation and let these guys talk. It's that's about. Of course, once we get Jim talking, Blake and I, you and I could both go get a drink.
Yep.
I'm in.
The Jim show.
The Jim show, and he thinks that's going to help ratings. Okay. So, what do you think? 9% appreciation on rentals? Does that sound in line to you?
Well, we've seen an unprecedented climb in rental rates, and the issue is really a shortage of housing, right? If there wasn't a long list of people typically applying for any well-priced, well-positioned offering, there would be no core inflation. It would be some type of deflationary cycle as people would have to incentivize.
You trying to tell us something about supply and demand, Blake?
Yeah, it's kind of that way. It still works that way.
That's a long way around. Just go with the basics, supply and demand, and then adjust it for the environment you're in. But it's still, like, I think Blake's point right off the bat is there still is a shortage of housing, whether it's rental or sale, in Southern California for sure. And that is just driving everything which direction will go. Prices aren't going up because there's now a shortage. There's the supply of buyers has dwindled. A lot of people just decide. I think more people are sitting it out than they are anything on the buying side.
I've said this before. The cost of housing is still increasing. It's just instead of the sellers selling to make the profit, the extra money is going to the lenders to finance the deal.
Yeah, those lenders.
Well, no, it's not. I'm not describing it as nefarious or any other thing. It's just money.
Back to life.
Money has been available at below market rates for a long, long time, right? I mean, if we believe that we were truly going through a decade of core inflation at around 1 or 2%, then that's your choice to believe it. I didn't believe it because we saw how fast housing prices were jumping, and they're just not included in a lot of the inflationary measurement, but everything that's around housing has also gone up. So when you look at some point in every cycle, it's a cycle. So it's like there's upside to it, there's downside to it. And the downside to it doesn't have to be bad. As long as just like the stock market, shifting up and down, it creates opportunities. And if you're not selling, you're really not impacted. If you're selling into that market, then you become a buyer, and you're now being able to take advantage of the lower price.
Does it matter, Blake? If you're selling and you're a buyer, aren't you basically you're paying top of market? You're selling at top of market, but then you have to pay top of market because either that or you're going into a tent out there in Santa Monica.
And there's a lot of truth to that. And so, or you're leaving the area and finding cheaper housing somewhere else in the country.
Anywhere else in the country.
So over the weekend, I had my high school reunion, the 45th reunion, and it was
45th reunion,
right?
Wow.
He had to throw that in there.
No.
Wow.
The reason I'm saying it is because I'm still local to the high school I went to, and it's my reference to everything. And over half the kids that were kids then are now, at the age of retiring, they're in other states. And I was surprised how many of them left our area. So
A friend
it's
of mine
actually
told me that his reunion, they were either in the local cemetery or in the local penitentiary, one or the other.
so they relocated one way or another.
One way or another, they relocated.
That's so
Guess you grew up in a nicer area than him.
Well, so I've watched the markets enough to know that nothing stays significantly, stable. There's always a variance from one sale to another, sometimes too small to show up, and each sale is unique in itself. And before the show started, Jim and I were talking about if you wanted to sell at the top of the market, you would have sold probably in around March or April of this year and closed the deal. And if you're chasing that value for your price, the price on your home today or your real estate today, it's highly unlikely you're going to get that unless you just have a really unique situation where two people are competing for that house and really both want it because of how desirable it is.
Does that matter, Blake, when does it matter the price point? So if I were looking at Balboa Island, they're very unique properties and they're only geared for a very small segment of the population.
Right. That's,
right.
I'm
using the extreme.
There was a story the other day in Miami, after the hurricane, they're seeing a resurgence in prices, but you're talking like Star Island, Miami Beach proper, where all that price doesn't matter. Thank you.
Well, to give you an example, over the weekend I was talking to someone whose son works at one of the local high-end car dealerships, and they were talking about how the $300,000, $400,000, and $500,000 cars have been getting bid up when they actually show up because of the supply shortage, where they're getting some of the bid ups are more than the actual value of the car. So it's, instead of being a $400,000 sale, the car now becomes $1 million sale.
Wow.
And it's more than double the price of the car because two people who have the money are willing to pay for it. And I'm not saying it happens all the time, but it's happening.
I was in the market, but
it's happening more.
Lamborghini announced this morning that they're sold out for 2024.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I'm bringing it back to real estate, what my thought is it's going to be harder to get top of market, or is it harder to get top of market when you're in a median priced property as opposed to one of the extremes?
Yes.
Okay.
And in part because you have lending guidelines. A lot of people need the lending in order to qualify, and there's fewer people willing to jump in because the people who have a 2.5% or 3% mortgage typically look and go, well, why do I want to jump into a 6.5% or 7% or 7.5% mortgage when I already have a 2.5% or 3%?
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean,
unless they're
unless there's a need.
Yes.
Right. But if you take a person that's just retired, they sell their house in California, they move to, let's just say, Texas, Arizona, whatever, and they pay cash for the house, they have no more house payment. That's not the decision we're talking about. We're talking about somebody that has a 2-story house in California and they're downsizing because they don't want the stairs anymore. I mean, come on, majority of houses are 2-story, at least in Orange County. And they're downsizing to a 1-story, but they want to stay in Southern California. And so they are looking at that scenario of, okay, wait a minute, what's this now going to cost me? And in terms of the payment. But I was going to touch back to the rentals too. Nothing's changed in California other than the economics, but nothing's changed for rentals to be built faster, to be built quicker, to be built cheaper. So that's the thing. If you can't build a rental cheaper, you're going to charge the $3,800 and the $3,500. I mean, if you ever notice, most of these apartment complexes that are going up, they're 4 or 5 stories trying to maximize land, but at the same time, they're costly to build, so they're charging an arm and a leg.
It seems like you almost have to, just because of, I mean, Jim, I think you and I have talked about it before, the cost variance just from, like, say, Arizona to California, just before you can even put a shovel in the ground.
Absolutely. I saw an ad, and it was current. It's a new house. I think it was Texas. It doesn't really matter. It was out of the state of California. And it's listed for $290,000. And I was looking at the house and I was thinking, that is a very nice looking house. The spec level of the house was very nice. It was 4 bedrooms. And I'm thinking to myself going, just to start that house in California would be, the land alone would be $280,000. You know what I'm saying?
So you have a little bit of a challenge
Then you put
there.
that house on top of it. Now that house building in California is going to be they build at $30 a square foot. We build at $300 a square foot.
Wow. Big difference here. We're going to continue our conversation. Blake Vartanian and Jim Norton are with me. Key factors affecting home affordability today, how raising your FICO score may save you thousands, and how to maximize the sale price of your property if you're trying to sell a home. You can reach me anytime. Off air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Is your budget getting blown up with high prices of gas and increased costs for other household needs? This is Ron Siegel, host of the daily Home and Finance radio program. Did you know if you have a low interest rate mortgage along with auto debt, credit card debt, or student loans, your family could potentially save $500 or more per month by restructuring these debts? If you'd like a free Borrow Smart analysis with our team, let's book an appointment to see how we might be able to relieve some stress. Schedule your appointment at rsrbsa.com. That's rsrbsa.com for your free Borrow Smart analysis. rsrbsa.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, the real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by the area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. Visit rsrhomescout.com, rsrhomescout.com. Hey, it's a great tool if you want to know what's available for sale and you are not a real estate agent. I have a real estate license. I don't use it. I'm not qualified. I've done all the training and education. That doesn't make you qualified, right? But I can go on there and still shop for properties or see what's on the market. 97% of the country is listed on rsrhomescout.com, rsrhomescout.com. Key factors affecting home affordability today. Every time there's a new segment about the housing market, we hear about affordability challenges buyers are facing today. Those headlines are focused on how much mortgage rates have climbed this year. And while it's true, rates have risen dramatically, it's important to remember they aren't the only factor in the affordability equation. Here are 3 measures used to establish home affordability: home prices, mortgage rates, and wages. Let's look closely at each one. Mortgage rates, number 1. This is the factor most people are focused on when they talk about home buying conditions today. So far, current rates are almost 4 full percentage points higher than they were at the beginning of the year. As Len Kiefer, Deputy Chief Economist of Freddie Mac, says, quote, U.S. 30-year fixed mortgages rates have increased 3.83 percentage points since the end of last year. That's the biggest year-to-date increase in rates in over 50 years, unquote. That increase in mortgage rates is impacting how much it costs to finance a home purchase, creating a challenge for many buyers that's pricing some out of the market. While the current global uncertainty makes it difficult to project where mortgage rates will go in the future, experts do say that rates will likely remain high as long as inflation does. Number 2, home prices. The second factor at play is home prices. Home prices have made headlines over the past few years because they skyrocketed during the pandemic. Now, the most recent home price index from S&P Case-Shiller shows home values continue to decelerate for a 5th consecutive month. And you can see that on the chart right now there if you're watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk AM 1490 video feed. This deceleration is happening because higher mortgage rates are moderating demand, and as a result, easing the buyer competition and bidding wars that previously drove prices up. What's worth noting, though, is how much higher prices still are than they were before the pandemic. You can see that on the blue lines on the graph if you were checking that out. Even now, we have a long way to go to get to more normal levels of home price appreciation, which is historically closer to 4%. When both mortgage rates and home prices are high, affordability and your purchasing power become a greater challenge. But while prices are still elevated in many markets, some areas are seeing slight declines. It all depends on your local market. For insight into what's happening in your local area, the area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio can help with that. Number 3 is wages. The one big positive component in the affordability equation is the increase in American wages. The graph that we're going to show now uses data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics to show how wages have grown over time. This year is no exception. As the Bureau of Labor Statistics reports, quote, median weekly earnings of the nation's 120.2 million full-time wage and salary workers were $1,070 in the third quarter of 2022, not seasonally adjusted. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported this was 6.9% higher than a year earlier, unquote. So when you think about affordability, remember the full picture includes more than just mortgage rates. Home prices and wages need to be factored in as well because wages have been rising. They're a big reason why serious buyers are still purchasing homes this year. Have any questions? Want to learn more about? Give us a call, 800-306-1990. As Leslie Ruda Smith, president of National Association of Realtors, says, quote, buying or selling a home involves a series of requirements and variables. It's important to have someone in your corner from start to finish to make the process as smooth as possible and objectivity to deliver trusted expertise to consumers in every U.S. zip code, unquote. Again, as I ask all the time, if you have any friends, family, or coworkers looking to buy, sell, or borrow on real estate, give them our number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Be happy to put them in touch with one of the area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. Again, visit rsrhomescout.com, rsrhomescout.com. Continue our conversation. Blake Vartanian and Jim Norton are in the house, Realty Pro 100. So let's get to the topic that I actually had somewhat in mind. It was not my topic. It was Jim's. But
okay,
I'm going to blame you. I mean,
I figured I'm dead. I'm getting it.
So here it is. If you really like the topic, it's my idea.
Okay.
If you don't, it's Jim's.
Okay. Make it simple.
Make it simple. I'm a simple guy, guys.
You are the host.
I'm the host, and next to Josh, I'm the first. Josh has a mute button after the fact. I have a mute button before it even gets to Josh.
Well, I know Josh decides whether we come back or not.
Yeah.
So.
There you go. Hey, Josh decides whether I come back or not. So we all know you always have to keep the engineers and the producers happy.
Right.
Yep.
So Jim, you and I were chatting a little bit in the last couple of weeks about some ideas on how we can maximize the sale price. And, we talked a little bit about that I've been promoting probably before interest rates even went up so much, that the first thing buyers think about is I see an $800,000 property and I think I'm going to offer $760 or whatever the number is. And
simple, traditional, let's see, the market's soft, so I'm just going to slash the price. I wouldn't have said 760. I'd have said about 720.
Okay.
Major, they think
you're on the front line, I'm on the back line.
The problem is it's not a fire sale. It's a discount, but it's not a fire sale.
So, we're not in 2010 where there's every person has 7 or 8 properties they could make an offer on.
Right.
Whereas today, there's still 3 or 4 people.
3,600 offerings on the
MLS
right now.
Say that again, Blake.
About 3,600 total listings active in the multiple listing service for Orange County.
Wow, 3,600 just for Orange County.
Yeah, but that's so low relative
what is that
to
normal?
Historical numbers. It's gone as high as 10, 12, 15,000.
Wow, okay.
In the past. So the norm would probably be around 6,000 or 7,000 would be a balanced market.
Okay, 6. What does that mean by a balanced market?
Well, where the number of sellers and the number of buyers will over time pretty much wash out, and there'll be enough supply for the buyers that are coming in.
Love the balanced market.
Okay, so Jim, you came up with this number, and I wouldn't doubt you because you're out there on the front lines that people think they're going to get that $800,000 property for $720. But here's the question I want to throw out there is, and this is what you and I were talking about a lot in the last couple of weeks, is instead of let's just go back to $750.
Okay.
Right. So if I've got 50,000, and if the seller were willing to even entertain that, you and I have been talking about the idea that maybe we got to use that same money to bring down the interest rates for affordability.
Yes, I mean, you're starting
Do you
to
see that
it.
as a value?
Yes, it's starting to get in there, but most people are still stuck in the world of 20% down, fixed rate 30-year. They're not getting their minds out there to see what can we do creatively to expand the buyer's dollar, because it's time for that. We're back into that. So yes, can we use that money rather than cut the price? Can we offer back some assistance on a rate buy down into maybe some type of stair step, or I don't want to say variable. What do you want to use? What better word?
Yeah,
but
adjustable.
Adjustable type of thing, and you can buy that down. The problem is some people are also just kind of blanketing. I want 20K for a buy down. It's like, well, what's that going to get you? What's going to buy down? I mean, why is that number? And so you have to explain yourself to the seller. So you got to put your offer together properly. If your agent's understanding what's going on. The problem is you've got 10 years of people not practicing this. They haven't seen this financial arrangement in over 10 years.
Have they needed to?
Straight, so, I mean,
have they needed?
No, they haven't needed to. So
what in the last was it been 5 years since we've even since a realtor had to even consider a price reduction?
I think it's been 5 years since a realtor considered an open house.
Okay,
come on. I mean, think about it.
So you guys are seeing. Are you being that you guys are both? I mean, you're in different areas. Blake, you're talking to people all over from a management level, and Jim's talking to or seeing from a competitor's level,
right?
And do the agents on the street understand real estate?
I hate to say it, but the more experienced agents do, because they were here. Let's say if you go back as far as 2005, it's not that long ago, but if you go back to 2005, you were getting creative. And then by 2013, it was being back a little bit back to normal. The market was picked up again, and a lot of the scars were healed. And then it's worked its way up, and now we're working our way back down, and we're cycling back down. And so, yeah, you have to have a lot of it. But it's an interesting thing. I was talking to an agent the other day. I had an open house, and there were some signs next to my signs for open house kind of across the main street. So I was finishing up. I gave that agent a call to see how traffic was, and remarkably, traffic was about equal, and we both had traffic. So people are out there looking, and they're seeing what they can do. The problem is that I think they go to a simple calculator, and they just do the 30-year fix. They don't look and see, okay, what are their methods I can do? Can I talk to the seller about helping me? And can we talk about a buy down? Can we talk about different ways?
Okay, so we have a question here.
I had one person.
Hang on, Jim. We're gonna have to deal with one question that came up first. We need to explain a buy down. Great question. Okay. Great question. I appreciate that.
Do you want to tackle it or me?
Go ahead. I'll take. Go ahead. It's not a problem. In fact,
I'm the finance guy.
I'm the finance guy. Okay,
I don't want to get myself in trouble.
No, not a problem. So I just sent over, Josh. I just put a link in there in our chat. Can you put that on the screen for us? I actually did a 45-minute webinar for professionals that is geared where you as a consumer can actually watch it as well. A buy down is basically, there's a couple of different ones. There's a temporary buy down to you're buying down the interest rate. So it can either be done with straight dollars as a temporary buy down. The seller puts money into escrow, and the payment becomes maybe 3% lower for the first year, and then 2% in the next year, and 1% the year after that. Or it could be 2% and then 1%, and then it goes back to the fully amortizing rate. Or there's a permanent buy down, which is what I prefer because it's permanent. And there, the seller is actually taking that money that we've been talking about. You take that $50,000 and maybe, and I don't know what today's rates are. Say they're 7%, but you use that $50,000 to buy the rate down to 5 3/4. for the entire 30 years. The temporary buy down does not help you with qualifying. The permanent buy down does help you with qualifying. So that's the idea of the buy down.
Yeah.
So great question. And we have on there rsrloans.com/presentation/50406. That's actually a 45-minute webinar that discusses several ways of getting lower payments. That we just did that webinar last week or the week before.
Ron, can I offer something on that?
Yeah.
If you're a seller thinking about putting your house on the market, concentrate on how much down is someone going to have to pay to purchase your home and how much is their monthly payment. And if you wouldn't pay that for your own home,
say that again.
I said, have the valuation done where if somebody was purchasing the home at the price you're asking for the home, how much down payment would they be required to pay? And how much?
So let's make it simple here, Blake. So we're back at 800,000.
Right. And if somebody wants to pay 20%, is going to be $160,000 down.
Okay.
And let's say the mortgage rate is 7%. And then you look at that payment, and if you wouldn't pay the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance for your own house, I wouldn't ask somebody else to pay it either. So I'd figure out ways to solve it, to bring it down so that your comfort level matches the expectation of what the buyers are looking for. Because then you'll have a much better experience because you'll be in the market in your head. You'll be accepting of the market and the conditions that exist rather than fighting them and trying to be the outlier as the exception who's trying to get the highest price in the marketplace when that really isn't what's happening right now.
So what Blake just said there, just to make it simple, man, I'm just a simple guy. So that 800,000, 20% down at 7% interest is $4,258 principal and interest.
Okay.
Still have to add the taxes, the insurance, and if there's an HOA.
Right.
So what you're saying is, do I think that my house that I'm trying to sell right now is worth $4,258 a month plus?
Right. So you have to look at, from the buyer's perspective, because that's the empathy. That's what they're going to be asked to do in order to purchase your property. So when you understand what they're going through, it's easier for you to put your house in a position to win versus the other homes on the market. So you could even ask for more. If the ultimate outcome is that you want to get the highest price, then you better offer terms that make that possible.
Okay. So there's a big issue right there that, again, most people are not thinking of, is the terms might be more important than the price.
Well, and I've often said, Ron, that, if I could say to you, do you want to live in a $2 million house? And you're probably going to say no,
Sure.
Or yeah, you'd like to live in it, but is it something that you feel you could reasonably afford?
No.
But if I told you could get it for $1 down and $1 a month, because those are the terms that are offered by the seller, you'd be all over it, right?
Absolutely.
We all would.
Right.
Right. I mean, none of us would say no to that.
Exactly.
So,
as long as it's in an area that I can deal with.
So it's dramatic, right? But it's a dramatic, example, but it gets people's attention that the terms are oftentimes more important than the actual positioning by price.
So when we write up an offer,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that especially nowadays, there's quite a few people that sorry, okay. We're gonna have to talk about that when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. We're gonna skip our Your Credit Matters segment, Josh. That way he doesn't kill me. You can reach me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 306 1990. The Your Credit Matters segment today being brought to you by creditsanitizer.com. You have a credit report? 79% of them, so they say, is wrong. I'm still trying to find the 21 that are accurate because I haven't found them, and I've only been looking at credit reports since probably about the time they first came out, but that's a whole different story. Credit Sanitizer, get that free credit report audit free. You can afford it. It's going to cost you $1 to get the correct credit report that is needed for the audit. Can you afford the $1? No Starbucks today. You can get it. And the audit, again, free. So that is the Your Credit Matters segment brought to you by creditsanitizer.com. Continue our conversation. Blake Vartanian and Jim Norton from Realty Pro 100. So we've been talking about the concept, and I only want to spend about a minute on this because I want to go to another subject that is not really thought of, but we're going to talk about it here on Ron Siegel Radio. So when you're looking at a purchase agreement, we've talked about this before. The younger people that are new in the industry, they are not familiar with this thing right here. It's amazing how they have no clue that you can actually put this. It'll work when you put it up to your ear, right? And you actually vocalize and talk to somebody, right?
Yes.
They're thinking about just texting or emailing, and they don't want to talk. Is it out of line to say, Jim, I know you've got a listing on 123 Main Street. What's important to your seller so we can put this deal together? Is that out of line?
No, that's not out of line. Actually, that's how you should be approaching the market today. If your realtor is just saying, oh, well, let's do 20% down, they're not looking at the perspective of the seller. As Blake had mentioned, you can, as a buyer, you have to look at the perspective of the seller. As a seller, you have to look at the perspective of the buyer. And if your agent isn't looking at that, their experience level is probably, they need to get some help. Because they're not understanding in a market like this, there's all sorts of ways to structure the terms of the deal. I mean, Blake gave the extreme $2 million house. If they were offering $1 down, $1 a month, you take the deal. Well, that's an extreme. But the reality is, what types of terms are they looking at? I mean,
terms can make the deal work.
As a buyer, your agent should be looking at your terms.
What does the seller need?
Getting the best loan, you know.
Maybe the seller needs to stay there till after the first of the year. Right? Is that a term that you can put in there and say, you know something, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, I've got this you've got an $800,000 house. I want you to help me with $50,000 towards my closing costs. And you can stay there till after the first of the year, being that's what you want. That's important to you. Can we do that?
Sure you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about being better than that? How about go 70,000 and I'll let you stay there rent free for 3 months?
Well, we don't want to do that because we know we have to be in within 59 days.
Yeah.
Okay. But we're not going to get into that part of it.
I forgot about 59 days.
We're not going to get into that part.
But you know what I'm saying? You can do, there's all sorts of terms you can do.
Right. So think about that. Your agent needs to have that conversation. Now, I want to go to one last point. We don't have a whole lot of time on it. Jim, you and I spoke about this one as well. Blake, we've talked about it before. But here's the concept. Can I use some of that $50,000 that we were talking about in the last part to incentivize? Do realtors work? Do they get incentivized if they make more money?
Absolutely.
They're human, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So am I fair to say that somewhere between 2 to 3% is the average of what a buyer's agent will make right now?
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If we came up and we said we're going to bump that, now again, $800,000 property, 1% of that, am I right? That's $8,000.
Yes.
Could we go and say, okay, we're going to take and make that 2 to 3, make it a 5? Is that legal?
It's legal, and it's a good practice under many conditions.
I know agents don't look at what they're going to make. I've heard that so many times that they don't look. Hogwash, because they're not out there working just for fun. They need to feed their family too.
We've all watched Pinocchio.
Right. So if I said that I've got an $800,000 property and the buyer's agent is going to make $40,000, could potentially make $40,000. Would that wake up some buyer's agents?
Absolutely.
So get more people to the property. Could I possibly get more than that $800,000 if I get more people to the property? Right, get a lot of people there.
Create a bidding war.
Create excitement over it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in times like this where you have a reduction in the number of buyers and a reduction in the number products on the market, you've got to stand out from the crowd. And you're not going to stand out from the crowd by just saying, I got 5 bedrooms, I got 4 bedrooms, and
one story is not going to do it.
No, it's going to be what's going to catch the agent's eye to bring them in. And first thing that's going to catch their eye is, hey, look, I can sell them this one for 2%, or I can guide them this way and get them to look at this house for 3%, 5%.
You mean you might take them to a property that and it's all based on suitability. So that's a given. It's got to be suitable.
You're not. I mean, you can't force them to buy it,
right?
But it's going to be on top. It's going to be on top of your list. I mean, there's no question. It's going to be on top of your list of things to show them, of what you're going to send to them.
Well, and if your agent's out there looking for value, I mean, we've had transactions where the property appraised at 1.1, as high as 1.1 million, let's say, as an example, and the buyer only paid $850,000 on the investment because that's where the seller was at based on what the listing agent had, how they had positioned it in the multiple listing service. Yeah. So if your agent's working for your best interest, you might walk away with some equity built into the deal and the ability to add additional dwelling units if you're buying the right kind of property.
Okay, now you're getting into more topics that Josh is going to kill me if we
we're not going
if we go down that go down that path. But here's the issue. Here's what I want you to understand with this: is there are a lot of ways that you can actually get where you want to be, and if you're the seller, to maximize that property before you ever think about lowering the price. And again, I'm going to put right there on the screen for you a presentation that we did, and. Josh, I think, can you get that into the comments real quick? I think, are you able to do that? Maybe I can do it. I just did it. Okay, so if you want to find out more about scenarios to get more for your property, to get more activity on your property, rsrloans.com/presentation 49854. And I know if you're driving, you're not going to get that. We've got it on the screen. We'll put it in the show notes. But there's some ways you don't have. First step is not to lower the price. The bottom line. Does that make sense?
Just run out and lower the price. You have to think about
do it strategically to get more people in your property. Because your goal is not to sell it for less. Your goal is to sell it.
Right.
Well, the first moment you lower the price, the buyer's first thought might be, what's wrong with the property?
There you go. Absolutely. Hey, if you have any questions, give me a call on this 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And as always, I ask. Set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh, who's engineering us today. And, of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.